stars again. A brand new day to amend the thoughts in my mind. A few words to you I send, and hope this spells out the end.
Well, hello, Sauna Hounds, and welcome to the Sauna Trail Book Club, Week 3. I'll give you a quick little recap of the previous weeks, and then introduce you to where we're going for this week, and we'll see if anyone stops by to join us for the conversation. So we are going through Bernhard Hillila's. Actually, let me remove this so you can see the book cover. Oops, how do I get off of full screen? I don't know how to work this thing yet. There we go. So Bernhard Hillila's The Sauna Is, which was first published in 1979. And he's a Finnish American, so he's a good person to be able to say what sauna is, at least from his perspective. And he did his homework. So he did a rather good job. And the previous chapters that we've covered kind of the background of what sauna is from a Finnish perspective and why would you go to sauna. So you can go back and look at weeks 1 and 2 as we go through the first 6 chapters of the book. And he goes into some interesting history facts, but it's all quick. It's all an easy read. And then that brings us to week 3, where we're going through a spot for relaxation, which is like what it sounds, a setting for propriety. That's an interesting chapter for sure. And then an aid to grooming. So it's relaxation, sex, and then hair care. So that's what you're in for this week. And then if you stick around for next week, the final week 4 of the book club will be about construction. So if you'd like to get nerdy on the construction details, you can join us next Tuesday at this same time for those chapters. So I have looks like we have a couple guests behind stage. I'll bring each one of them on one at a time. There's Julie. Hey, all of our listeners and guests have seen Julie. She's just upstairs right now. And I thought I would ask her to come on to talk about hair care since I don't have much hair, so she'll know better than I will. And then we also have another guest here. Let me bring him on stage. My sauna friend, Pablo.
Hello.
Welcome, Pablo.
Thanks.
And I don't know, have we ever chatted face to face?
I don't think so. We talked on the phone and on Facebook a couple times, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and he's a big time sauna geek, has done some interesting building stuff, and has a great sauna book collection. So we always geek out on sauna books. So it's fun to have him here as part of this. Do you want to give us just a little bit of kind of background of how you got so into sauna? I imagine there's not too many Pablos in Finland.
No, I don't think so. But no, gosh, it was 15 years ago. A friend of mine took me to a Russian banya, and it was the first time where I had experienced the hot with the cold, and it was just a completely different experience than just hot. Prior to that, I had only been in sauna, and then you'd have to go outside to cool off. But this place, Banya 5, had a proper cold plunge, and after experiencing that contrast, I was just hooked. I felt really healthy, and body and mind were in a different place. It was really healthy for the muscles and really healthy for the mind. And after that, I was just like, okay, how do I get more into this? And I need this to be a part of my life moving forward. And eventually I became a sauna geek, and I collect books and have built a number of saunas, and I love the history. And I think what's really neat about this group is, and some of the work you've been doing with the podcast and stuff, is that once people find sauna, they oftentimes are trying to find ways to optimize their experiences around sauna. And so it's really cool to, one, find sauna, that it exists, and then two, the journey of making your sauna experience through life more enjoyable and more of what, more of what everybody feels is what they want to experience. And I feel like this book club is part of that. So thanks for including me, and I'm excited to join.
Yeah, you said that very well. It's not just that Bernard is just kind of scolding Americans and saying you're doing it wrong. I think what he's trying to do is correct some misconception and offer some of the richness that was maybe being missed by the time 1979, the 80s rolled around, to say, oh, here's some of this wonderful cultural gift that I have to share with you guys. So. And he's definitely been sharing it pretty well in the book. And you mentioned that relaxation, so we'll start there. Had you read his book before?
I read his book about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And it's, I've got a lot of sauna books like you do, not quite as many as you do, but this is just a great little book. It doesn't have hundreds of pages, but I think the density of what he shares is just in such a nice, friendly format to absorb, but also like isn't necessarily focused on sharing information. It's almost like a little book of wisdom of, it's like more is not better. And this is an example of like very well written, very concise, very approachable, and fun. It's just a fun book you can casually pick up and read a short chapter, or you could read the whole thing in probably an hour and a half.
Yeah. So let's get into like I said, you mentioned the relaxation. So let's get into this chapter. Let me pull that up and give it a little introduction and hear your guys' thoughts. A spot for relaxation. And he basically, in this chapter, I like to kind of summarize them. He mentions that mental relaxation and slowing down and how valuable that is, and that it's a great chance also to connect with other people. And that could be just on a normal social situation, or even a more difficult, potentially difficult social interaction. He mentions those as well. What did you guys think of this chapter?
I'm happy to chime in. Hi, Julie. How are you?
Hi.
It's great to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Do you mind if I share a little bit?
Yeah, please.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Cool. Yeah, I think what's really cool is kind of in the first part of this chapter, he discusses the psychotherapy of it, and he goes on to talk a little bit about rushing the sauna experience and kind of talking about like showers and bathing. And I think what's really interesting to me about that is like when you think about what he's saying is it all comes down to the goal. And you're like, when you're gonna take a shower, you're just like, okay, I gotta soap up my hair and then get the conditioner on, and then I'm late for work and I gotta get out of here. And when you do a sauna, like when you take a sauna, your goal is not to like shampoo your hair and get the heck out of there. It's you're doing so much to the body with circulation, and then it's stressful to the body. And so I think like one of the things he's hinting at in a way is that it's important to set yourself up for success with the mind being calm and not on a timer, because the body is going to get stressed during the experience. And so if you have a stressed out mind, that you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta hurry through this. And then your body then goes into the sauna and then gets stressed out. That's just gonna be kind of a less enjoyable experience than if you weren't in a rush and if the sauna um, setting was geared towards relaxation and calmness. And so I really like kind of the way he presents that. And I like that he brings the shower into it, because that time, like, that was something that a lot of people in the Western world would relate to, is just, oh, it's kind of like a shower, but not like a shower. um that was kind of like one of the key takeaways from the beginning for me.
Yeah, he has one of his maybe the best quote from the book. There's a lot of good quotes in the book, but
Mhm.
where he says the sauna was not built for saving time, but for spending it well.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's that 1-2 punch. You mentioned it, of the physical and the mental, that if you can get both of those, the combination of those, it kind of beats you into relaxation if you can have both of those. That's why kind of like when people talk about timing the hot like how long you're in the hot room or having the sand timer, I've never used one of those. It's more about relaxing and decoupling from the clock that runs the rest of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we've saunted with a lot of different people, and we've introduced sauna to a lot of people, and it's interesting, the people who have a really hard time with sauna and they don't seem to get it are the ones that never learn how to relax. Like, they were just uptight the whole time, and mentally couldn't let go and relax into the heat or relax into the cold. And so I think you're right. If you don't come with the right mindset, I think it does affect um, your experience quite a bit.
Well, I wanted to ask you guys, he goes on to talk a little bit or discuss the conversations in sauna. And in my years of sauna, I've had all sorts of conversations with friends and family. And I've actually, as much as I don't like sauna rules, I have established some just very basic, friendly sauna rules for topics of discussion in my sauna. Because sometimes, like, people just get really passionate about maybe a controversial topics, and then it ends up being a like debate club inside the sauna. And I
Yeah.
don't get that like experience of like, hey, we're here to relax and like come out from our, 2 laps or 3 laps in the sauna with
Right.
just like a rejuvenated feel. Instead,
Yeah.
I would come out with like a frustrated, like, failed debate. And have you guys experienced that, or how have you um, maybe navigated some of those challenges?
Well, Christopher has a little secret trick.
Yeah, I don't know if it would work for the debate, but we have had some guests and friends who are very talkative. And then I just throw extra steam. Um, but if someone's set on debating, I don't know if we've had that happen.
Yeah.
Mm,
It seems like, yeah, I don't know if the steam would even stop them then. People really want to be right and win an argument. But
Yeah.
it seems like maybe that could work if you had set up expectation beforehand before you were going in, because
yeah.
he does mention in that chapter what business negotiations, political negotiation, even I think like even some Russia Finland stuff happened in the sauna or banya back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also I feel like, I mean, if it gets hot enough, like I don't want to be debating. Like my brain's not even functioning to actually like debate anything. So I don't know. Maybe throw if you have a wood burning or if you have electric, just turn it up, crank it up a little bit, and get it hotter. I don't know.
Just pull that sauna hat down lower over your eyes and hide from the lowly that you're
Yeah.
throwing on.
It's like, why is your sauna hat so huge? It's like a whole body sauna hat. Although it does make me want to like sauna with you. Like I would want to, Julie, maybe not so much, but I wouldn't mind participating and at least being a fly on the wall for the debate saunas and see what it's like. So let's see. You guys have covered most of those. He does have a story. There's an interesting story in this chapter about going to the Finnish Sauna Society. And I asked someone who's a member there this past week because I didn't know if they still had it, but it was a traditional thing to have a washing lady that was part of a public sauna in Finland. And so my understanding of this is that it's a lady whose job usually is like a motherly woman figure, even at a male sauna, whose job is just to give you like a hardcore scrub down cleaning afterwards. And I've heard that people describe that as like, it's super weird for from an American perspective, but also just kind of like a very kind of like humbling, you just sit there and take it. And also it's kind of like a spa treatment in a kind of way. Mm-hmm. So he's there at the Finnish Sauna Society, it has on this page. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of like in a hurry. He's like, okay, I'm ready for my washing treatment. And she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go get coffee and then we'll do it later. So it helped him to be like, okay, slow down, American, step back, take a breath. You don't have to be in such a hurry.
Yeah. It's almost like the first time you get like a deep tissue massage and you're like, oh, this is kind of weird. I don't know about this. But after your first time, you're like, okay, it's not weird unless you make it weird. It's just part of the thing. It's like, you can't get a deep tissue massage if you leave your sweater on. And it's like,
Right.
Yeah. And actually this kind of this rushed mindset. So there's a few things that I think are hurdles for Americans for sauna, or North Americans even more generally. The nakedness part of sauna, that's a big hurdle. You know, I mean, we usually have swimsuits on when we're doing it with friends, especially we're in town. But still, that would be a hurdle. I think the extreme hot and cold is a little bit of a mental hurdle for people that haven't experienced it. And then the third one, and then this one might be the biggest one, which is what this chapter is talking about. The idea of checking out of the busyness of life for a few hours a week and not doing anything. That's a real big hurdle for some people. We can binge watch shows, but just sitting and doing nothing feels kind of wrong. All right, so let's see. There was one more thing at the end here in this chapter. Okay, he talks about, there was something about a bishop taking sauna. What was that? I don't even remember.
Yeah, he kind of has a part in here where it kind of goes into a little bit of like a spiritual aspect of sauna. And I know people of many different faiths use sauna, but I think it is really, really nice that he kind of connects sauna to like a sense of like it is a special place beyond a hot little room, and it's a place where people gather like in a small community, and it's I like that he does bring the sauna up a little bit beyond it being just a little hot room where you go sweat. It's like there is a little bit of spiritual aspect to it, and I like that he does that. He kind of talks on page 38. He starts talking about that.
Yeah, he mentions, and so Bernhard, I think I mentioned in our first episode a little of his background, but he was a Lutheran, which many Finnish Americans are, and I think he was a pastor and even an educator. So let's see. He mentions the story of a Finnish bishop who would sauna to kind of clear his mind and kind of sort through things before he would take care of all the complicated church business. And there's even fun fact. There's even I know of at least one sauna in a Lutheran church up in the UP in their basement.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I think it's mentioned or pictured in the opposite of cold. So, and then he mentions kind of he'd mentioned the governmental thing, and there were a few saunas he mentioned there that I thought I would track down some pictures from those. And I'm not sure I can pronounce the correct Finnish name, but here's one. Let me remove that. And
Is that the Koenigsted
Yeah.
estate?
Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, that's
wow.
so these are like governmental. He mentions them like the government.
Huh.
So there's another image from that.
So beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then down to the water. And then there was another one at an academy, military academy, and then that's the one there.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Oh, and that's the kind that where you have to bring your own piece of plywood to sit on.
It does look like that. Yep.
It does. Yeah.
And sandals. Oof.
Yeah, it looks hot.
Yeah, that'll be fun to use those.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
sauna rooms. The physics of them and the way the heat and the air work, it's just different. It's an interesting beast. Okay.
Oh, thanks for sharing those.
Yeah. And then actually I'll have, if you message me later, I found those, someone did a survey in Finland of all their different like governmental properties, and they put out a booklet of like the saunas at their governmental properties. So it's all in Finnish, but it's pretty cool.
That is really cool.
All right. So at the end, he talks about kind of this heightened awareness that we have, that your skin is your largest organ. And that it kind of, that there's something about the sauna, and we've noticed this, that while it relaxes you a ton, it also makes you more aware of things that maybe you would miss otherwise. So oftentimes you'll get outside, you'll notice the breeze more, like the rustling of the leaves. Whatever you eat will taste better than it normally does.
Yeah.
So I think that's true.
Yeah, whenever we have people over to sauna and then we make them a meal afterwards, like it's usually just a simple meal, like potatoes, sausage, whatever. And they're like, "This is the best sausage ever. Where did you get it?" And we're like, "It's just Costco sausage."
If it's salty, it's extra good.
Right?
Okay, and then the next chapter. Now this is the spicy one. It's kind of interesting. A setting for propriety. And he kind of digs into some of the history again, with how different expressions of bathhouses have been throughout history in Europe and elsewhere, and that there were in Finland, it didn't seem to be an issue. Even they generally separated the sexes, but even when at times when they were combined, it wasn't an issue. And he does relate that to kind of, it's your mindset going in. So we talked about that scrubbing lady earlier. Americans might get all weirded out about it, but again, I think if your mindset is like, this is not a sexual thing, then you get over it and it's not a big deal. But that hasn't always been the case for bathhouses. They were often a setting for sex, and even in the early days of introducing sauna to North America, quickly that was adopted as kind of like a red light district kind of practice. There's even in the Twin Cities, I think one of our businesses had trouble because they were operating in a neighborhood that it might have been a more residential neighborhood, and the city said they had laws on the books that wouldn't allow saunas in a residential neighborhood, probably for those reasons.
Mm.
So what'd you guys think of this chapter?
I think it's a great topic, and it's so complicated. And I see it on Facebook where people have a lot of discussions around it, and what's right for one person might not be right for the other person. And I do like kind of the way he lays out the first part of it, where like co-ed bathing is typically done within families, and then but it does turn into more of like the ladies and then the boys will sauna alternating. And then I think it kind of just goes back to that optimizing your sauna experience a little bit too. Just like, if you're married and like a bunch of your buddies are over taking a sauna, you're like, okay, do you really want a bunch of your buddies and then your wife in the sauna naked? And it's like, well, most people are probably not like comfortable with that. And so, and then like your wife is probably, or my wife is not going to have an enjoyable, relaxed experience if it's a bunch of my friends in there and then her naked. And so I like that he like introduces the concept of like, hey, it is a little bit different when it's your family. Like that's totally different. And I mean, I had dug into that topic a little bit and how it became to be. And I think you and I had discussed this a bit about how like sauna got a bad name because when it went to Western Europe, it became associated with brothels. And then the church then banned saunas altogether. And so I think this is just good for him to lay out in this book. That's like, hey, we just want to make sure you're understanding this isn't like you go into this place and start getting frisky. Like, you got to respect the sauna and respect the fundamental rules, because you're putting people in close quarters in a hot little space, and if they're naked, things could get uncomfortable really quick. And so I like that he didn't shy away from that topic and actually like hit it head on.
Yeah, and it's a good approach. He's just looking back at history to see what's happened. While it may have functioned that way, because you mentioned it being a brothel, and I didn't know this. He mentions this word bagnio, bagno, which is like bath, but it also became a term for brothel. Well, it may work that way for a little while. History kind of seems to show you're not gonna be able to function with that type of a public brothel bathhouse for super long. So if you want a long-term lasting cultural expression of the bathhouse, he's pointing at the way that they did it in Finland and saying this is a good template to follow. And then he also talks about, it's interesting, advertisers. So if you look at like early sauna advertisements in North America, there. I'm gonna see if I have any pictures here. I'm not sure if I do, but they were like more of just like families and everyday people. But it didn't take long that it became like 25-year-old young women just kind of laid out on the bench. And even later, there's some of the advertisements by one of the early companies that it's like, you're right on the border of like pornographic advertisements here.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, and that's like that's that's an interesting thing because it's suggestive, right? Like you haven't bought a sauna yet, but then now you're seeing ads, and then the ads are leading you towards like the sexualization of that. And so I was like, whoa, like you're introducing people to something really special in a very, very delicate and wrong, in my opinion, the wrong way to do it. I think what's interesting too about like when you think about the general like purpose of some of what he's talking about is like, I mean, you hate to say it, but it is possible to use the sauna wrong, right? Like sauna can hurt you. Like you could die in a sauna, and you can,
Yeah.
you can get burned, you could dehydrate, and just like it can cause like physical harm. I think that him laying out this chapter is like, if if you have a bad communal experience where you're naked, your body's really stressed out from sweating, and then you have an uncomfortable situation happen in there where you're in the corner and you can't get out of the sauna, and there's, you know, it can just turn into a bad psychological thing as well as a physical thing. And so I I think the sauna is just such a beautiful tool, and used well and responsibly. And I think that this chapter is just really, really key to make sure. I think especially for ladies using a sauna where things are a little bit, ladies have more private parts than boys, and so it it is more vulnerable for ladies, and so I think good to be aware for all sauna users that there has to be maybe a little more um, boundaries around using the sauna with ladies around.
Mhm. Well, and I think it's in my head, it connects, and I don't know for men if it connects as much, but at the end of the last chapter, he talks about basically saying, in the sauna, however, just as I am, without one stitch, without any cover up or improvement, one still is a person himself. In fact, he's more truly himself than with all that other stuff. And so reading that for me and doing sauna has actually made me more comfortable in my body, and knowing that like when I go to sauna, because I have gone now to public saunas and it's only been women, but it's completely nude, and that was really weird for me. And it was only women, but it was very weird. But it was also like everybody there was there for business. Like they were there to get clean, they were there to relax, they were there to get hot and then get cold and relax, and there was no weird stuff going on. And I think that it's almost more tantalizing, I think, for men if women were to wear a scandalous bikini than to just to walk in nude. Like it's almost like you're trying to hide something, you don't get to look at it, I'm gonna try and hide it because it's very sexual, versus like, I'm here to take a shower, I don't care what I look like, I don't care what you look like. And I think, Christopher, you've asked me that question, like, would you sauna, like if we were to go to Finland, would you sauna naked co-ed? And I told him I probably wouldn't sauna naked co-ed in North America because we just don't have the same sauna culture. But I don't know that I would have as much of a problem if we were to go to Finland and it was part of the culture and it was very, very, the boundaries are very clear. Everybody's there for a business. Um, I think I would be more comfortable. I think it would still be weird for me, but I think I would be more comfortable in that situation because I know there wouldn't be any weird stuff that I might be subjected to, you know. So
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you. And like he says on page 45, I think beyond this too is to make the cleanest possible place something sleazy, tawdry, pornographic is unforgivable. And I
mhm,
think too from like the cleanest possible, and I think that word cleanest has a meaning beyond,
mm,
beyond that, because like you we've all been to like that Gold's Gym sauna or like a big box gym sauna, and you go in there and you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't, this place stinks, I got to get out of here. And so like, you know to help keep a sauna clean
mhm,
from sweat, and then if people aren't sitting on their towels and they're naked, then the benches get soiled, and then if they're being like sexually active in there, then that's a whole nother can of worms. And so
yeah,
like you can totally ruin cedar benches by not observing some of these good
mhm,
rules that are in
mhm,
place. And
mhm.
yeah, I mean, we could have a whole hour discussion on just this chapter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think sometimes what gets lost outside of the Finnish culture. So he mentions, I've heard this before outside of his book, that for them sauna, you're supposed to act in sauna like you would in church.
Yeah.
I don't want to
mhm,
overstate that because you may not joke around as much in church like you might with your cousins or uncles or friends, it's okay to do that in a sauna, but there definitely is kind of this reverence towards the
mhm,
practice of sauna, that cultural
mhm,
practice.
mhm.
And I think sometimes in North America, it's not a cultural practice for us. There is nothing really kind of sacred to it. It's just like, oh, a place to sweat and it's good for your health, or I just like it or whatever. And there's really not that idea of like, oh, I would need to act a certain way in this place. But we
Mhm.
probably do have some sort of parallels in our society that we could think of where it'd be like, oh no, that would be inappropriate to whatever behavior in that place.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess church would be one, although we're
Yeah.
less church going these days, but people can at least understand that of like, if I'm here visiting, I am going to act a certain way.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
oh, and that public sauna, honey, that might not, I don't know how much they do co-ed naked in Finland, but Germany, that would definitely be,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
definitely their practice. So
Yeah.
if we ever go to
I think you had
Germany,
just asked like the general question, and I was like,
right.
I think if it was in a country where culturally it wasn't understood well, I don't know that I would do that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like on page 45, halfway, the basic uh, thrust of the Finnish sauna, however, is clearly on the side of moral propriety and good manners.
yeah.
And so, like, it's exactly like you're saying, like, hey, if you go to where in Finland, to where that is like the fundamentals of sauna there, you can kind of push your limits of comfort a little more just because the framework is there and agreed
Yeah.
upon
Right.
within the culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a story we heard somewhere. It may be in some sauna book. I don't remember where it was. I heard this anecdote. I thought maybe it was going to be in this chapter, but it wasn't. So it's not from Bernhard. But the anecdote was that there might be some Finnish Lutheran churchgoers,
Mhm.
a ladies group, that they would just go and sauna together, and this wouldn't be uncommon, and they would be all naked together as they sauned. But then afterwards, as they get together at the fellowship hall or something, and they're sharing a meal or maybe some food, something to drink, and if one of them had blouse that was a little too low cut, that would be scandalous. So it was totally okay if they're completely naked an hour ago, but if you're just like a couple inches too low on the cut of the blouse, that's
scandalous.
Yep.
yeah. So I
And
thought
then
that was
what do
funny.
you guys think about on page 46, he talks about the use of drugs and drinking alcohol while using sauna. I know that's a pretty controversial topic as well. And especially between like sauna cultures, like the banya users tend to, I think, be a little more willing to drink like vodka than say some of the Finnish, from my understanding.
I think it might depend on which Finnish group there is. I know there's pretty significant divide in some of the Finnish communities between, like one of our favorite saunas on the East Coast started out as a temperance society. And so I know that's very common, especially among a lot of the more conservative Finnish churches, of practicing just total temperance even. So they're not drinking alcohol any time. And they would view that as not a great choice anyways. So for them, it makes sense. Like you wouldn't want to pair that with sauna. Whereas other groups I've been in, other Finnish groups, I think, where they're more okay with that, in even drinking a little bit of beer in the hot room, wouldn't be a big deal for those groups. So I think there is some variety to that. That did stick out to me when I read that. Maybe everyone doesn't share his perspective on this.
Yeah. I did when I was pretty new into sauna. I went back. I was going to Banya 5, the Russian spa, and I was there by myself. Tuesdays, on Mondays they're closed, and then they clean the whole thing. They drain the cold plunge, and so Tuesdays is like the day where you come out of the cold plunge and you don't have hair on your face. And so I was like, oh, okay, Tuesday, and that's the day like the real local like regulars go there, and had some great conversations in the sauna with them. And afterwards, they're like, "Hey, any interest in joining us? We're just going to go down the street to the local pub." I was just brand new at the time. This was probably 15 years ago, and oh, sure, I'll go with. And so I go and I get a pint of beer, and out here in Washington State, the beers are IPAs that are 11%. And so, I get one beer, and I'm halfway through that beer. And usually, I don't drink a lot, but I can drink one beer. I was halfway through this beer. My stomach turned into knots. I was like super buzzed. And like my body just started kind of like getting weird. And I was like, I don't understand. And then like later on, I was like, oh my gosh, I went and got super dehydrated. And then my body's just craving fluids with salts to like get my blood thinned out again, to get to get back to normal. And I'm over here feeding it alcohol. And then my body just like freaked out. And I mean, I had the craziest stomach cramps for probably like 4 hours, and I never ever again mixed. For me, it just didn't work. But and then he does talk a little bit about food too, and overindulging. And there's been a couple times where I had been busy all day. The wood-fired sauna was hot, but I was really hungry. And I didn't want to go into the sauna with an empty stomach, because that doesn't work either. And I ate a little too much. And then the blood, instead of being focused on circulating, it was trying to digest. And I realized that that wasn't a good experience for me as well. So now I'm kind of, if I'm really hungry, I'll cook, maybe I'm grilling or something, but I'll just cut it up into little pieces and kind of like snack through the sauna session rather than like eat the meal beforehand. Have you guys had any experiences with like the food or alcohol?
Well, yeah, go ahead, hon. You can go first, and then I'll.
I mean, I'll talk on the food part because I'm not a big drinker. I'm a lightweight. So if I were to drink after sauna or during sauna, I'd be in trouble. So, but I have had to, like you, I've had where I ate too much before I went to sauna and it just didn't feel great. Like I just felt, ugh, like it was not the normal, refreshing, relaxing, and so, um, but I don't like to go hungry because if I go hungry, then I get really jittery and my stomach hurts. And so usually we try to eat like 2 hours, like 1 to 2 hours beforehand. And then I might grab like a piece of fruit before I go in, like just something light, a little bit of sugar so I don't get too low. But yeah, it's that experience of eating too much or not eating enough and going into sauna is not pleasant. So
Yeah. Chris, or I'm just putting it out here. Just maybe a future sauna book review.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which one is that? I think there's 2 sauna cookbooks published.
I only have one of them, but uh, that could be a really fun topic at some point.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
because food and sauna do go together.
very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't want to eat a giant meal before you go to sauna, and you do want to be careful with alcohol. Both of those things are true. I think if you're well hydrated and you're paying attention to things and going slow, I think a few sips of beer while you're sauning is not a big deal. 11% beer is going to be that's pretty significant. So something maybe a little bit lower, like 4 or 5. But one time I did eat a large carb meal before sauna. It was a bunch of pizza, and and it was, and then I pushed the heat and the cold, and that sauna almost killed me. I thought, like, I had an extreme, was it a drop in blood pressure,
No,
hun?
you went hypertensive.
Oh, I spiked blood pressure after the cold plunge,
Hmm.
and I
And he
found my
normally runs low. He normally runs like below 120. And
yeah.
he was like 140, 150.
So anyways, after that, I was like, well, okay, I need to be a little bit more careful about how I eat beforehand. And then also, I'm even a little cautious with the heat and the cold now. I don't I can cold plunge as long as I want, as long as I don't have sauna beforehand. But if I've been in the hot room, I don't. And it's like 30. I mean, this was break the ice to go in the water type of thing. So I don't push that as much anymore. So you do want to be careful.
Yeah, and that did happen to you twice. So,
Did it? Yeah,
mhm.
maybe a little bit the other time, not as bad as the first time.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was this close to like calling 911 because he kept saying that he thought he was going to die. I'm like, are you having a cardiac event?
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
scary.
it was scary. It was scary.
But I could tell you some experiences too. We've had a couple spooky ones. Um, my wife is um when she gets cold, sometimes she would get like little bumps, like
Hmm.
almost like hives, and
Hmm.
apparently it's like not uncommon.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Hmm.
and then and when she first started doing sauna and the cold, it would happen like she would get raised bumps on her legs. And if she stayed in the cold plunge too long, she'd get really, really lightheaded and then like almost like to pass out.
Hmm.
And then like we had to put her back in the sauna because I was like, oh, the blood is doing too much stuff. And we
Hmm.
put her back in the sauna and then it went back to like normal. Uh,
Oh.
but then it was interesting because like the more she practiced sauna, it went away. And so like after years, it just totally went away. And so it's like she built that circulatory fitness
Yeah.
and her body like didn't kind of freak out like that. And yeah.
Interesting. Hmm.
So anything else on chapter 8? Should we go to chapter 9? I like chapter 8's a good one. I let
Mhm.
Bernhard the old Finnish pastor make the strong case. I tend to agree with him on that.
Yeah.
Chapter 9, hair care. I didn't really have many thoughts about this one. He does mention, there was one thing that jumped out to me, this oil treatment that he mentions about putting on oil before going into the hot room, and then it absorbs in the hot room. And that was very similar to that honey treatment that I was once recommended and tried. And I was surprised by how much it actually does absorb. The honey just absorbs into your skin. It just like disappears.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts about the hair care and grooming?
Well, it makes me want to try the oil thing now because I've never tried it. I've read this book before, but I don't remember this. So when I was reading it again, I was like, what? I'm going to have to try this. Because my hair does get dry after sauna. It does get dry. So
Yeah, and my wife's got curly hair, and so if her hair gets dry, it gets really frizzy.
yeah.
And I think was a little bit interesting when we first started practicing sauna. We just didn't really know how the body, it was hot, whatever. But like, and guys aren't usually as concerned about it, but the temperature did cause like heat damage to her hair. And like you were saying, it dried it out a lot. And then one of the things that was really hard for her was she would put it up in a bun, but then the sauna hat would sit up really high. And then, we would do lowly, and then the hat wasn't coming over her eyes.
Yeah.
To kind of shield the sensitive areas there. And so then she stopped wearing the hat, and then was having issues with her hair drying out. And so I found a really cool lady on Etsy that hand makes sauna hats, and they're super, super thick, really amazing. I ordered one like 2 years ago, and then they were so nice. I was like, hey, I love it. Would you be willing to make me a custom one that is like a cone head one? So it's really tall. So then my wife will put her bun up at the top of her head,
Yeah.
and then the sauna hat comes down proper. And so my wife like swears by the sauna hat in order to help keep her hair a little bit more healthy. And so it is interesting because when I read that previously, it didn't really like resonate with me at all, and I had no like I didn't understand it. But he is totally right. Like, it is hard on the hair.
Yeah.
Well,
And
that's really cool. You'll have to let us know about who the sauna hat maker is. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And I know that it's time for a haircut when I put my hair up in a ponytail, and I'll do that too. I'll put it up, way up, so that I can wear my sauna hat. But my hair gets so heavy, it gives me a headache. So then I've resorted to putting it into 2 braids, because then my hair is down, and then I can wear the sauna hat, but then my hair is not protected. And so, and actually, my daughter just told me a trick that she did that I didn't even know that she was doing this. She said, because she had just washed her hair the day before. So then when you go in sauna, your hair gets all like not nice, like it gets all dry and gnarly. And she sprayed a leave-in conditioner that I had bought a few years ago that I forgot I even had. And she sprays her hair with that conditioner because you don't have to rinse it out. And I was like, you do? And she goes, yeah, it works like all the time. So now I have to try that because it does. It just makes it feel really rough. So I'm gonna have to try that now too.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't
So
know if
maybe-
your wife's ever had like, if she's ever had like a leave-in conditioner that she has tried that with too. See how that would work. My
I'll
hair is
mention
pretty
that to her.
straight, so I don't struggle as much with the struggles of girls with curly hair. So
So
I'll mention it to her.
which daughter is that? You have to tattle on them. I'm
Nala.
curious. Oh, is it interesting?
Yeah. Yeah, she told me that literally last week. She's like, yeah, I just spray my leave-in conditioner. I was like, oh.
Yeah, maybe it's got a lot of oils in it, you know. So maybe it's essentially what he's saying is get some oil in there ahead of time.
Yeah. And I've been doing this thing. Well, and because I was annoyed with how rough my hair was doing, the last time we saunaed, I actually washed my hair. I brought shampoo and conditioner into the sauna and I washed it in the sauna. And I loved it. It worked out really well. And so I think that I will probably do that more often now.
I've never used a sauna with a shower in it. And I've always wondered because, like, usually, you know, if you're in your bathroom, it's usually pretty chilly in the wintertime. And so you'll turn the water temperature up to lobster. But then I was like, well, if you're in a sauna and it's, 180 degrees, what temperature water do you use? Because if you use lobster temperature water, you would just overheat.
Yeah, I actually we use the water that's left over in the bucket because that's actually warm water.
Oh, yeah.
And so usually whatever left over in the bucket is warm enough for me to use to rinse with.
Yeah, we don't have a shower in ours, so it was just a bucket. You were just doing bucket bathing.
Yep.
But we've used a lot of saunas with showers, and I think we usually turn the water. It's you turn it kind of cool, right?
Yeah. Yep. It's kind of cool. Yeah. The only reason I use the warm water is because I want to just get all of the soap and the conditioner out. But if I use water that's too hot, then yeah, I do get overheated. And so sometimes I'll just end with cool water at the end. And when our sound is because it's 2 stories, I rinse down on the lower level and it's a lot cooler down there. So if I use a little bit of warmer water, it actually works pretty well. So.
Yeah. Cool. That's right. You guys have a sauna where the whole bench is up high. That is such a great design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
It was a fun experiment. Yeah. He mentions I thought he had a good kind of admonition for ladies, kind of gentle. He's like, relax. You don't have to, it's okay to just kind of be yourself. You're going to be more beautiful after the sauna anyways, as you're more just relax and chill. And then he mentions that it's a great time for a pedicure, manicure after the sauna at the end.
Yep. It's very true. It's usually when I clip my fingernails because they are nice and soft. So.
And then you got to go to the what was that? The older lady that gives you the scrub.
Oh man.
Yes. I want to experience that one of these days and have some lady just beat on me.
Yeah, that's definitely on my sauna bucket list. It'd be uncomfortable and weird, but I think it's part of that, this is part of why this is such an important and good book is there's a benefit to taking the time to learn what they have to share. And this book does a good job of kind of getting you into that. So,
yeah.
Well, that's the end of that chapter. Any final comments on those?
Great discussions.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. It's been wonderful. And then next week, and we would love to sauna with you one of these days. We're a few hundred miles apart, but it would be cool to sauna with you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you guys are welcome anytime. If you're in the area, we'd love to host you. And at some point, I got to make it over to Minnesota as well. And so I'll be sure to let you know if we're driving over that direction with our cross-country skis.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. So the final 3 chapters next Tuesday are A Room for Heating, A Project for Do-It-Yourselfers, and A Variety of Designs. and it's been a while since I read those chapters. I don't know if construction was his strong suit. I think he was very good on the academic and cultural side, having been someone that he said he read everything he could in 3 different languages, and he was an academic himself. So we'll see. I'll grade how good I think his advice is at construction. And I'm no expert myself, so it's a non-expert perhaps grading a non-expert, but it should be interesting.
Yep. That'll be interesting. And I love that topic too. Building science for houses has changed so much in the last decade. And then, you build a house totally different in Arizona than if you do in Minnesota. And then with sauna, it's like so much more complicated. And so it's really hard for one book to even present a comprehensive discussion on that, just because if somebody's taking a sauna in Death Valley, you build it different than if you're in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's indoor, outdoor. How are you running it? What are the materials? There's so many. Do you have any construction books that you like best? I'm curious.
Ooh, I've got a couple that I really like. Let's see. I'll have to let me look it up.
Okay.
And then next time we meet next week, I'll pick one out that I really like. There's a couple that I really like because they've got cool photos and cool like ideas. And then there's a couple that I really like because they're really nerdy, but then they're not inspiring. They're just technical. And you're like, well, I wish we could blend that together. Like, get some inspiration photos with some fundamental technical specs to it.
Yeah. And it's always like, people kind of dial it in. You dial it in. It's like, okay, this is perfect, like, and precise. But then it's always fun to see those builds that are just off the wall, where they're like, I want to just try something different. And it's like, just like a brick wall, no rocks on the stove. Or I saw one with, it had like the chimney or where the smoke was going was completely sideways down in the floor, on one part of the floor, and then they did in a trench, and then that trench was just filled with rocks. So I was like, ooh, I would like to use that.
That's neat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Almost like a smoker concept.
Yeah. A smoker, what do they call them? There's the rocket mass heater types that try and grab as much of that heat from the exhaust as possible.
Wow.
Well, we should probably wrap it up. Thank you again, Pablo and Julie, for joining this week.
Yeah.
And the rest of the listeners, as you watch and listen this week, you're welcome next Tuesday. It's easy to pop in, and you don't even have to have read the chapter. You can just give your opinions. But it'll be fun to wrap this up next week. And hope you guys have a good week and good sauna.
Sounds good. Oops.